네. 그렇기 때문에 조시 앨런 선수가 오른쪽으로 나오면서 시간을 벌어봤지만 오픈된 리시버를 찾을 수 없었습니다.
44야드 거리입니다. 타일러 베스. 오른쪽으로 벗어났어요.
Live.
Go on, Eddie! What's that? Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
And when it's grim, be the Grim Reaper and go get it.
It's my hoes house! And it is good! 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 Woo! Arrowhead man! The Lombardi Trophy has a red and gold reflection! You gotta fight for your right to party!
Hey, real quick.
Hey, listen up.
Hey, they asked for it.
Yeah?
And they got what they asked for. Hey, but he said it. This ain't done. We come back next week ready to go.
And turn it up a notch!
Let's go! Woo!
Ooh, man. Howdy, Chiefs Kingdom. It's Wednesday. It's 8 o'clock. It's Chiefs Kingdom Live. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, real quick, if you'd be so kind, click or tap that like, click or tap that subscribe button, tell a friend, tell a family member, tell some Chiefs fans, help spread the word. We'd sure appreciate it. Got a great show lined up tonight. Bo with a little bit of a mix-up there, a remix of the intro video and some extra special goodies for you all there. Appreciate that, Bo. Well done. Got a lot of fun stuff to talk about tonight. Obviously, the big divisional round win over the Buffalo Bills. The AFC Championship game against the Baltimore Ravens coming up on Sunday in Baltimore. Lots of good stuff. Got some news and notes we're going to get to here. Before we get to it, good to see everybody in the chat, lively already. Appreciate everybody swinging by. Good to see you. Feel free to leave your comment or shoot us a question. Before we kind of get into this, how are we doing tonight, fellas? Nick?
Dude, I'm fucking awesome. We just beat the Bills for the third time in 4 years. We're in our sixth consecutive AFC championship. Mahomes looks like he's out for blood against the NFL. I mean, we're going up against Lamar Jackson, right, to go to the Super Bowl. Dude, like, how could you not be great?
Let's go.
Bo, how are you?
Yeah. Same. I'm great, man. Good to see you guys. Good to see everybody in the chat. Thank you guys for stopping by tonight. We really appreciate it. No, I'm good. That game lived up to the hype, right? Like, it's kind of one of those classic shootouts, nail-biter finishes that you can only kind of hope for in a divisional game. And, yeah, we got the better of it going on. Have a chance to go to the Super Bowl again. Pinch me right now,
Right.
man. I feel like I'm dreaming.
Right. Yeah, no, the story lives on here for at least one more week for the Chiefs after kind of a maligned season. So I've heard people say the Chiefs, which is kind of absurd thing to really even think about or say it. The Chiefs right now are playing on house money and all the pressures on the opponents when you're the defending Super Bowl champs, right? Like, I don't know how that's the case, but it certainly is the case, and the team obviously feels that way. So, yeah, I'm doing great. After the way the season kind of went, to be here in this spot, not that we ever really thought it wasn't possible, but there was definitely points where it looked maybe improbable that they would make it back to this point in the playoffs, be playing for another AFC championship. But here we are, and it's a good time to be a Chiefs fan. We'll get into that Bills game here in a second. A little bit of news here. Broke not too long ago here before the show started. The Los Angeles Chargers, a division rival, the preseason favorite to win the division in the Super Bowl every year, hired Jim Harbaugh as their new head coach, luring him away from Michigan, where obviously they just won a national championship there. So he's a guy that's got a track record of some success in the college ranks as well as the NFL, most recently, right, with the 49ers, and took that team to the Super Bowl. I think they called that the Har Bowl, where him and his brothers squared off with the Baltimore Ravens, coincidentally. What are you guys' thoughts on the hire, You think that means trouble for the Chiefs? Is it a smart hire, a bad hire, Bo?
Sounds awfully familiar, right? All-star coach going to come in, right the ship. Denver, that didn't really work out for them too much. Raiders are kind of in the same position, although they rehired the same guy. But no, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I don't know if it's news. The Chargers put out a tweet saying nobody has it better than them, and I would respectfully disagree, Chargers.
Right.
Respectfully.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's always interesting to see what the AFC West is going to do to try to take us on, right? They've spent so much money on talent, trying to fill up the talent spots or the skills positions at quarterback. We've seen moves like Devontae Adams going over to the Raiders, and the Chargers just build up their team. And yeah, I guess this is just another attempt to try to thwart the Kings. And it's good being on top, watching everybody try to come at your crown. So I'm not too worried about it, man. He's a good football mind, but so is Sean Payton. But we have Andy Reid, arguably one of the greatest coaches to grace the game. I mean, it's almost up to him and Bill Belichick, I would say, at this point on GOAT for coaches. I think there is a pretty good argument to be made that it's Andy Reid. So I'm not too worried about it. What about you, Nick? You think it's a good hire?
I think it's a good hire. He's a good coach. Look, he's the guy that resurrected Alex Smith's career. Alex Smith was a bust, and then he went pretty far, and then got concussed, and they let Kaepernick take over. So really, he's kind of the reason that we got Alex Smith with the Chiefs. What am I missing here? Am I missing something?
You're spot on. I like it.
Our resident comedian, John C. here.
Yeah, Tyler Bass. Man.
Out there.
Places we're in. Anyway, so back to Harbaugh. Look, it's a good hire. He's a good coach. Obviously, he took a team in the NFL to the Super Bowl. He won a national championship with college. I'm just looking at the Chargers and their cap situation, and you feel like they've kind of missed their window, right? How many of these really good quarterbacks do you see, and once they start getting paid their big contract where they don't really have that much success, right? So, I mean, if you look at the contracts that they have coming up next year, they're kind of in a cap hell situation. That said, like we were talking before the show, do you guys think that it's before or after the end of the season where you see the first national media story talking about how the Chargers are going to win the AFC West next year?
The champions of the gonna win it next year title.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to jump off that bandwagon. The Broncos are back onto the Chargers bandwagon now. It's hard to say. I'm sure you'll see some experts say that, they're bringing him in. He's the guy that's going to do it. Look, Jim Harbaugh is a better coach than what they had, so it's an upgrade. Now, how much of an upgrade? I don't know. I don't know if we got something going on wonky with StreamYard, or if your guys' tiles keep blinking in and out, or if that's my internet or what, but
I'm good.
You're good.
Must just be on my end. Maybe my internet is acting up here. So anyway, so it's an upgrade from Staley, but Jim Harbaugh, he's out of the NFL for 10 years almost now, right?
Dang, really? Yeah.
You just wonder. I don't want to say like the game's passed him by. It's kind of a strange job with the cap situation and ownership being kind of notoriously difficult to work with and kind of cheap. They don't have a general manager hired yet. I thought maybe you'd get a general manager and let him pick his guy. So I don't know how well that works, how much say Harbaugh is going to have in bringing in the guy that's going to give him the players and working with him. Maybe he has a suggestion. Maybe he's got a guy that he's going to bring in. We find that out later. But, nothing really any of the other teams do is going to worry me that much. So.
Did you bring up a good point with it being 10 years since he's been in the league? It's such a different game than it was 10 years ago with all the new protocols as far as player safety and health and everything like that and protocols and whatnot.
And we kind of saw with Bill Belichick, I mean, on his way out here, they're like his style of coaching kind of gone by the wayside in the NFL. And I think that was kind of the deal in San Francisco, where he had a really big lift for a few years, but after 2 or 3 years of his, interpersonal skills and the way that, like, the style that he like interacts with people are getting sick of him, right? That was kind of the story if you remember back to that. So it'll be interesting to see how, now that, the players' coaches have kind of taken over and had a lot of success recently. Ultimately, it comes down to how good your quarterback is. So there's that too. But I just wonder. I mean, will it be like a Sean Payton situation where, it's kind of a big flop, or will he actually have an impact? Will be interesting to see.
That it will. Definitely will be. Looks like got our man Tom joining us. It's been a while since we've seen Tom. Good to see you, man. Hope all has been well.
I think we have some stuff for Tom that we need to get out to him.
We do. So, Tom, we need you to send us an email. If we could get the email address scrolling across the bottom there for our man Tom.
Yeah, give me just a second. I think we have one we need one for Kevin K too. Kevin K, if you're still in the chat, send us your address, man. We have a gift for you.
Send us some contact info so we can make sure to get y'all what we got for you. So, other than that, I mean, I can't think of really any other NFL news. Other coaches are interviewing, and no one's really hired yet. That's the first kind of shoe to drop out there in Los Angeles. But I saw Vrabel's interviewing with the Falcons. Bill Belichick had a couple of long interviews with the Falcons. Seems to be some interest there. I know our man JT. I saw him in the chat. Good to see you. He's probably watching that. That's a division foe for JT's Carolina Panthers, which I was looking at the home and away teams. The Chiefs play at Carolina next year. So I guess later this year, depending on how you want to look at it. Going to have to make sure to make that trip out there and catch that game and meet our man JT in the flesh. That'd be great. I've been wanting to go out to that part of the country for a long time anyway. So
we got you, John C. We're just slow about it. Sorry, man.
Right.
We're not Amazon. We're moving at a snail's pace here, but we got you covered. Don't you worry, sir.
Tom, you want a Chiefs themed phone wallet case, I think, or phone wallet. I don't know how it works. What exactly it is.
We need you to give us your address at the email address flashing across the bottom there.
Yeah, so
we can send you this gift.
Yep. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we get into this Bills game? I think that's about it, isn't it, really?
Let's get into why we're here, man. Championship weekend.
Chiefs defeat the Buffalo Bills 27-24 on the road to advance in the NFL playoffs. Before we get into kind of just the details of that game and what went on, overall thoughts about the game, Nick?
I mean, it was a hell of a game, right? It was just back and forth. There was a couple of times where, it looked like the Chiefs were about to put it away. The old fumble-rooski through the end zone touchback rule came into play. Then it looked like the Bills might go put the game away, run out the time, and score a touchdown to win. Defense toughened up. I mean, you had a wide right field goal for the Bills to lose in the postseason. I mean, the game kind of had everything. You had Jason Kelsey going full ham, like in the audience without a shirt, ears. And, I mean, it was just JT said it earlier. He said the Chiefs Bills games are just, they always seem to deliver in the postseason, and it was a lot of fun, man. It was very stressful as a Chiefs fan to watch it. Like I was just, it was a nerve-wracking game, and it just seemed like, it's like, dude, like, they just cover the guy in the flat, because it's just like he threw like 400 passes to the guy in the flat, and there's just nobody within 10 yards of him. But at the end of the day, the Chiefs were able to pull good quality football without too much controversy, right? From like refereeing. There's a few calls that we're going to talk about that.
I don't know about that.
Maybe
I know
lack of refereeing, maybe.
Frustrated with a couple here, but yeah, man. What about you, Bo? What were your thoughts?
Super similar thoughts. I said it earlier. The game really lived up to the hype that it had been hyped up to be all week. Well, classic shootout style game. Game that was not good for my blood pressure whatsoever watching it. We're up, we're down, we're tied, we're up, we're down, we're down. Oh, okay, here we go. Defense just didn't seem like it was going to get it together, and then they finally tightened the ship up in the fourth quarter, which was just such a breath of fresh air, seeing some 3-and-outs. Watching the Bills go for a fake punt was hilarious on 4th and 5 from their own 20 or 30 or something like that, somewhere in there. Everybody's just the funny thing I think about this game is everybody's talking about how, it just came down to a missed field goal. Like, no, it didn't, man. No, it didn't. He makes that field goal. You're giving the ball right back to Patrick Mahomes with 2 minutes left with 2 timeouts. Who really thinks that he's not going to go down there and get a field goal at least? I mean, that's where he lives and dies, is right there. That's what he was bred for, is that moment right there. But super stressful game, guy. We got the win, man. Overall thoughts on your side?
Look, to me, I wasn't stressed out about the game. I got irritated with a couple of the officiating gaffes, or what I thought were gaffes. But overall, it was a back and forth game. To me, it seemed like the Bills were needing to play a lot harder than the Chiefs were to stay in that game. Right. The Bills were having these long drives where they were getting short gain after short gain, and they'd score a touchdown, and the Chiefs, they get the ball, go right down the field and get a field goal. Bills plod, kind of work their way down the field slowly but surely, get down there, kick a field goal. Chiefs get the ball back, score a touchdown real quick. And it felt to me, you've heard this script for how long now? All of the formula to beat the Chiefs is slow the game down and keep Patrick Mahomes on the sideline and drain the clock. That is not the formula to beat the Chiefs. The formula to beat the Chiefs is score a lot of points and keep up with Patrick Mahomes and the offense. Maybe not so much this year in the regular season, but we're seeing it more now in the playoffs. The Chiefs were moving the ball at will against the Dolphins, kicked a lot of field goals. Maybe the elements had something to do with that, but Dolphins couldn't keep pace with the Chiefs offense. The Bills, they were keeping pace, but it looked so much more difficult for them to move the ball and score than it did for the Chiefs. Chiefs defense maybe started to figure some things out. So the only really point in the game where I got worried was after the Hardman fumble and the touchback. But even at that point, the Chiefs still had the lead there. And when you're looking at the clock, you're thinking, okay, well, it's looking like this game, maybe whoever has the ball last is going to win. And the way they were moving down the field there at the end, the Chiefs were going to be the ones that had the ball last. So, yeah, fun, exciting game. Whatever it is, these two teams, I don't know if it's maybe they're evenly matched. I don't know, but you get this like heavyweight bout feel to it where guys are just landing blows and throwing haymakers, right, and landing jabs, and it would be one of those things where if you had to do a split decision or something, you know what I mean? If you had to score it down and then off the scoreboard, you'd probably have a lot of controversy. People say, oh, no, this team should have won, or oh, no, this team was the winner. But in the end, Chiefs came out on top. And to me, the biggest storyline of the game is Patrick Mahomes going on the road. Something that people had said kind of ridiculously
ad
that he had never won.
Oh, my God.
Never won a road playoff game. The dude
all
never
I heard
played
last week.
a road playoff game, right? He heard that noise. He heard people saying that all week. And Petty Pat, we saw it in the video clip that Bo played there from the locker room after the game where he's saying, this is what they asked for, and we gave them what they asked for. And we gave them what they wanted, and turned out it was something they turned out they didn't want.
I think we should all send Bobby Stroop a gift basket for all of the bulletin board material he just posted without comment on Twitter last week, and that he's been doing this week too. I mean, he's known Mahomes since he was a kid. He knows how to motivate that dude, and I think that Mahomes can tune a lot of stuff out, but he's seeing that, and that's why he's doing it. And it's starting to piss people off too. They're getting on him. They're saying he's this and that, but yeah, definitely influenced how he played.
Bo, I mean, Patrick Mahomes, Chiefs on the road. You think, I mean, that's the biggest story of the game? Is there something else that stood out to you?
Yeah, it's funny because like, is he gonna be able to handle the pressure? One, it's gonna be cold. Two, the fans are gonna be loud, and he's never played on the road before in the playoffs, right? Well, like one, it was way colder at the game before, and in fact, like the way the whole playoffs are lining for it, it's just warming up, right? Just like the Chiefs, that just warming up as we go along through the playoffs. It was minus 30 for the first game, single digits for the second game. It's supposed to be 30 degrees, I think, in the next in Baltimore. And then Vegas, in February, that can't be too bad. So things are heating up, just metaphorically and literally, though. But dude, Mahomes, he has been there, right? He has played on the road. He has played, and every time he plays on the road, it's essentially playoff atmosphere. Every team when they play us, it's their Super Bowl for them, right?
Yeah.
You saw the Raiders go, what? They moved to 7-8, and they're sitting there in the locker room smoking cigars because they beat us when we're like barely just playing the game at all.
Doesn't happen
Every team,
once every 5 years.
It's their
bro.
Super Bowl when they play us, right? So it like we have experienced fan bases being loud at their house, and we've been there at that stage at this level. Mahomes is just he's been there. He's the man. Nothing's going to shake him. He is unshakable.
No, that's his 40th win on the road in his career already. He actually has more yards passing and touchdowns and a bunch of stats on the road than he's had at home. Look, at the Chiefs, whenever they go somewhere, maybe outside of like a division rival game, they're the marquee game on everybody's schedule that they play on the road, right? I mean,
exactly.
When other teams look at their home schedule and fans are looking at it, they're looking at, Chiefs are coming to town. I want to go see Patrick Mahomes. I know before the Chiefs were the juggernaut dynasty in the making, or you could even call them a dynasty at this point. That's a pretty good debate. I would look at the schedule and look at this. Oh, the so-and-so's, Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are coming to town. I want to go to that game. You know what I'm saying? So the Chiefs are that team now. It's something that I think he enjoys, silencing that crowd and going in there and being the bad guy, right? And going in and just deflating a stadium and crushing the other team's spirit. So first chance he had to do it, he's 1-0 in the playoffs. Nick, I believe you have a stat about Josh Allen and the road playoff record.
Yeah, so with that win, that means that Patrick Mahomes now has more road playoff wins than Josh Allen, who is 0-3
Mr. January.
Mr. January. So congratulations to
Tony
Patrick.
Romo.
So look, I like this comment here from Dylan, right? The Chiefs don't have to play under pressure because they've got nothing to prove. All the other teams have to prove they're worthy. Is a really great point, man.
100%. That's definitely 100% right on for sure. So, Travis Kelce was another guy performance that stood out after maybe a little bit of un-Kelce-like, quieter end of the season than we're used to from him.
All right now.
Travis Kelce, some folks on some other shows and whatever said maybe he was looking tired towards the end of the year. People were wondering, is he on the downhill slide here? Didn't quite put up the numbers, especially the catches and the touchdown numbers last month or 6 weeks of the season. Overall, I mean, he only played 14 games and still was 16 yards shy of 1,000 yards. The touchdown numbers were down a little bit, but teams were kind of focusing more on him. Team FK, man, dude, came out and set the tone. Bo, what did you like what you saw out of Travis Kelce? And my tile window things are screwing up here, and it's going to give me a seizure or something. I'm going to jump out and then jump back in.
Yeah, no worries. What is there not good to say about Kelce? He is the fucking man. Sorry, part of my language is being so crude there, but dude, last week his biggest criticism that he had some drops, right? And you're just like, it's Travis Kelce. Like, that man has earned his drops, and he showed it this week, right? He 2 touchdowns, 74 yards, something like that, 80 some yards. He's just the man. He's just the man. All the talk about him retiring, all the questions he's getting from reporters about what are your plans next year? Are you going to get into movies and all this stuff? And he's just like, no, I love football. Why would I not play this game? I think that gives him the motivation, right? We're saying like they have nothing to prove. I think some players do have some personal motivation when they start looking at stuff in the media, especially that guy. He's got a little chip on his shoulder. You can see a lot of people have been talking smack, not only about him, but just the offense and the receiving core in general. I mean, they admittedly had a lot of drops and slumps, but the worst receiving core for the Chiefs gets him to the AFC Championship, right? Like I think that's where he's coming from. So can't say enough great things about him. What a time for him to come alive. And to the point of him not doing well this year, it's probably a little hard to score touchdowns. We got 2-3 guys covering your ass the entire time. I mean, like he was double, triple teamed all season and still put up almost 1,000 yards to your point, right? Dude's just the man. Love TMFK. Nick, what do you got to say about him?
Everybody acts like he had some bad year. He was almost at 1,000 yards.
Yeah,
for a tight end. So
in what,
I know
15 games?
Yeah, exactly. He didn't play the whole season.
Yeah.
So that's minus 2 games, and he still put up almost 1,000 yards. I mean, so he definitely his production tapered off towards the end. I think that I don't know if they're trying to save maybe him for the postseason run, or if he was, starting to feel it. Look, I also think that when you're in a position where you've been to 5 straight AFC championship games, it's probably part of the grind of the regular season is trying to stay engaged in these games that don't have that feeling, right? That you've been playing Josh Allen in the divisional round in the AFC championship game, and you have been playing in the Super Bowl against the Eagles and the super team, right? I mean, and then it's, the Raiders week 7. And you're just like, dude, like it's got to be difficult to stay engaged. And I think that some of that, maybe you see that. I'm not saying that they don't want to win, but it's probably becomes more of a job for them at that point in time. It's like, okay, so how do we get to where we win the division, that we get good enough seeding that, we have a chance here. And then also I think that rest that he got at the end of the season, not having to play week 18, I think it is. I think that helped him too, right? And, these guys that are a little bit older, he's got a lot of miles on him. He's got all the years that he's played, the 11 years that he's played, plus all the playoff games that he's played. And I think he's played in 17 playoff games now. So he's got an extra season of playoff games on top of the 11 years he's been in the NFL. And so, I think that does take a toll. I think that, he's not a spring chicken anymore, but I mean, he's still the man. He's still Travis Kelce, and he beats people with his brain as much as he beats people with his body, right? He's never been the fastest.
Look at his first touchdown.
The 13-second game. He's a guy that is smart, and he gets open because he understands defenses. And so, yeah, I'm not surprised by what we've seen in the past couple of games, other than the drops, which, even with the drops, he still had a good game against Miami. So
still crushed it. And it was -5 with -30 wind chill that game. Like, probably going to drop the ball a couple times.
Yeah. When it's 30 below zero wind chill, I'm going to give the 34-year-old guy a break on dropping a pass or two, right?
Yeah.
Who was that game against again? The
Dolphins? Bo's got the sound bites galore here tonight. So, look, I almost think that playing on the road in this game and playing on the road next week, I don't know if you ever got Patrick and Travis and some of these guys, especially those two, and maybe even more so Patrick than anybody else. If you got them in like an honest moment, right, and asked them about it, I don't know that they would ever say that they would choose to play on the road over playing at home, just because of the advantage playing at home gives you.
Right.
But I think going out on the road, that's almost given this team that's proven and accomplished just about everything there is to accomplish something else to go out and prove, right? A new goal, a new level to reach, going out and winning on the road in the playoffs now. So that, to me, I would almost think that rejuvenates those guys and gives them some extra motivation, and is something that maybe they would almost, I'd say, they secretly wanted, maybe in the back of their minds. Like, I kind of want to go on the road.
Like,
I kind of want to go on the road and kick some of these people's ass and show them. You know what I'm saying? So
Dude, I agree with everything you said. And right along those lines, they're still the underdogs going into this game. Like, what else do you really have to say?
Seems unfair.
It does. It almost does. You're giving them bulletin board material at this point. Oh, you're
Yeah.
going to make them the underdogs when they are 13-1 against all other teams besides Tom Brady in the playoffs. They're going to their 6th straight AFC championship game. Like, why? How are they the underdogs?
Yeah, it's just interesting way to look at it, I think, and again, I think it's a new goal, right? A new target to go out and get, and something new to achieve, and maybe it's giving these guys a little bit of extra juice. I think you've seen with the offense too coming alive. People talk about flipping a switch. I think that's true, and that they've done some of that. But I also feel like these last couple games, it's almost been like addition by subtraction, getting Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney off the field for the offense.
Who would have thought? Besides the three of us, that's
Yeah.
weird.
I only talked about it for 16 weeks.
It just seems like things flow so much better, and now Rice is getting more looks, and Pacheco is getting more involvement, and it's almost feels like they don't have this obligation to try to get the ball to Toney or find a way to force it to Moore. They're getting it to guys that are producing. Number 11, MVS, had a couple of big catches this game, but I mean, he didn't have a key role, right? He's the third option, and so it's almost like they've kind of whittled it down, right? Sharpened the pencil maybe a little bit here, and like, okay, here's the guys we need to ride with. Here's what's working. Let's just stick with what works. And I think that's kind of the resurgence you've seen from the offense. Isaiah Pacheco had a good game. For as much as everybody wants to make about how the Bills were running the ball down the Chiefs' throats and dominating them in the run game, the Chiefs rushed for damn near as many yards as Buffalo did. Isaiah Pacheco was getting touches and having nice runs. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had a few nice plays there. I think he had a 28 or 30-yard gallop down the sideline there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's really fit in nicely in this backup role with McKinnon being out. So yeah, I just feel like you're seeing a team that is kind of maybe found their identity here and also has some new things to prove and has found a little bit of extra motivation and juice. So
yeah, dude, I completely agree. You brought up like the receiving core, like Rashee Rice and MVS. It wasn't like they had an all-star rookie, or excuse me, an all-star game, breakout game. They just performed, right? They came up clutch when they needed to. Rashee Rice, he wasn't the all-star one receiver that everybody was kind of hoping for that he was going to be in this game, but he caught the ball when it mattered, came up clutch on huge 3rd and 4th down conversions and yards after catch. I think he had 4 catches for 40-something yards. One of those was a 20-something yard run, right? You brought up MVS kind of having a day. I mean, it's good to see these guys kind of start to fix their mistakes when you need them to. You couldn't ask for a better time, right? As you're going into the playoffs. What do you need these guys to do? Not drop the ball. They didn't do that. What did? They got open. They got separation, right? Travis Kelce was, like you said, he beat them with their brain. He was able to find ways to get open. Hats off to Andy Reid for his play calling, getting just getting the right plays called when needed. There was no pressure on Patrick Mahomes, and I want to huge tip the hat to the blitz pick up there, right? The Pacheco and Helaire were doing amazing job at picking up the rush, giving Patrick all kinds of time to throw. We just put it together, and that's what this team has always been missing all season. We just haven't been able to put everything. We minimized all of our mistakes. Nick pointed out we only had minimal penalties. I think it was like 2 or 3. Maybe should have been a little bit more, but there should have been more for both teams. We can get into that a little bit later, but like I said, just minimize mistakes. We didn't turn it over, and that's just the things we've been harping on all season on this show. Is that you do that, we have a really dangerous team, and we saw that this weekend.
Yeah, playing cleaner football in the divisional round now. Mahomes is 6-0, and I want to say he has something like 18 or 19 touchdown passes and no interceptions.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
110 passer rating or something, 115 passer rating. The guy is just unbelievable to think about how many playoff wins he has. Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes, they get the record too, right? The most postseason touchdown passes between a quarterback and receiving duo there. So Yeah,
That's
this offense
insane.
is firing and running hot now, and they are going on all cylinders just in time, right, for when they needed it the most. Talk about the defense a little bit, right?
Yes, let's.
Defense, it was frustrating watching them kind of just get – you kind of seen what we've seen out of them the last few weeks, right? The first quarter especially, but even more so the first half total.
Right. Yeah.
Other teams move the ball on them. They stiffen up at times and hold them to field goals. And they haven't given up 30 points all year. They're the only defense in the NFL that hasn't given up 30 yet. And you're looking at it, and it's, they've got 17 or 20 at half, and you're thinking, man, is this going to be the game? They're on pace to give up 38 points, or they're on pace to give up 40 here, right? And then they come out in the second half and just lock teams down. They give up 7 points in the second half of this game.
Right. So
Bo,
good.
What stood out to you about the defense and the way they played, especially maybe when they kind of put the screws down in the second half?
Dude, no, yeah, you just said it. They put the screws down, right? They just played hard-nosed football, and I don't think any of the Bills receivers got over 50 yards receiving. For as much as Nick was pointing out that Josh Allen was kind of passing all over the flat on us, didn't amount to that much, right? They had to essentially go to like what it was been our weakest link all season, which is kind of our run, stopping the run for our run defense. They had to heavily lean on that and Josh Allen running the ball versus their passing attack game, because we just got that locked down. Proven to be good practice for us. I mean, that's kind of like the MO of the Ravens, so that'll be great preparation for next week. But the things that really stood out on the defense to me were just like our linebackers. Nick Bolton was all over the place. I heard his name so many times, right? We didn't have any sacks, which I was kind of hoping. Just want to see somebody just put the hit stick on Josh Allen just once, just back there. Man, that's a little disappointing, but plenty of pressure. I mean, arguably that's what caused Josh Allen to miss a pretty wide open Shakir in the end zone right there at the end, and would have made things super interesting. So hats off to Chris Jones for walking his dude pretty much right back into that throw. You pointed out they had that bend don't break mentality. I mean, they looked like they were about to break, but they just bent a little bit further than we're used to. But at the end, they didn't break. Shutting the Bills down to 7 points, as you said, in the second quarter is just phenomenal. You can't ask for more than that. They have just done a great job all season of adapting to teams, and offenses don't have an answer for it when we change it up in the second half. It's been so much fun to watch, and we've said it for the past couple of years. Imagine Mahomes with an all-star defense, and this I said it last week. This is one of those defenses you can definitely rely on him, and you're starting to see Patrick Mahomes kind of take the reins back a little bit in the defense, kind of going like, oh, I can breathe a little bit, but they're still just the badasses we've come to know.
Yeah, but you talk about the linebackers, Drew Tranquil,
him too.
Tackle on the fake punt, right? Gets in there and tackles DeMar Hamlin and gives the Chiefs, puts them in prime position to maybe, I don't know, ice the game away is probably not the right term to use, but help give some separation and make it a one-score game, because, man, they were trading the lead back and forth. I think there was 5 or 6 lead changes in this game, which kind of speaks to the quality of these games and these contests between the Chiefs and the Bills. Nick, what did you see out of the defense that you liked?
Yeah, I think that they executed their game plan, which was to force the Bills to try to beat them running the ball and throwing short passes. They didn't allow any plays that were over 20 yards. I think that there's only been one game in Josh Allen's career, his rookie season or something, where they didn't have a play that was over 20 yards. Yeah. They had a lot of rushing yards, but I think that they were saying, look, they're not going to beat us just running the ball for 4 or 5 yards a carry.
Right.
I mean, they're not going to beat us. We've got Patrick Mahomes. He's the king of the divisional round. He's never lost here. He's a killer. So what we can't allow is these, this passing game to go, crazy, right? There were a couple of, the defense got kind of lucky on a couple of plays where, the Bills just kind of dropped the ball, right? Like literally. But overall, I mean, no plays over 20 yards, and he completed like the most passes behind the line of scrimmage in the next gen stats era since they've been, kind of tracking that stuff. So if you told me that was going to be the result, playing Josh Allen in the Bills, I would be like, okay, yeah, we're probably going to win that game, right? I think that was what their game plan was. Now, they still gave up probably more points than I would have liked. I would have liked to force a couple more field goals there. I mean, that touchdown against Snead was kind of a tough play. It was a great catch, right? It was a great throw. But overall, I think that they did what the task was, which was keep the Bills low. Like the everybody's acting like Josh Allen had this like monster elite, best game and still lost. I mean, it's not like where he scored 36 points against us at Arrowhead. They put up 24 points, right? Did he have a good game? Yeah, he had a good game, but it wasn't like some all-time, like performance for the record books.
Exactly.
Yeah, this defense to me, they remind me of, and if you're a Kansas City Royals fan, you'll know what I'm talking about. When we used to have Wade Davis and Kelvin Herrera and Greg Holland in the bullpen, that 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9 combo, right? You just knew other teams weren't going to score there at the end of the game. This defense, I'm trying to remember the stat I saw. It's something like they've given up 0 points in the fourth quarter, like 4 or 5 of the last 6 or 7 games. I mean, they are just not getting the other teams are not scoring and moving the ball in crunch time in the fourth quarter when it matters. And so they keep you in the game, let the offense, do their thing, and just don't give up big plays and find yourself down in a quick 14, 16, 17-point hole, right?
Right.
Don't let other teams do what the Chiefs offense has been doing and get big plays and have quick scoring drives to where now your defense is right back out there. It was aggravating though. I'm not going to lie. It was frustrating watching the Bills just get first down after first down after first down and convert third downs. And I want to say there was a drive
Fourth
or two
downs
there.
too.
Oh, yeah, fourth downs too. I want to say there was a drive there where the Bills' play calling was literally every other play was run up the middle, pass to the left-hand flat, screen pass, run up the middle, pass to the left flat, run up the middle, and it was kept working over and over and over. And I'm like, dude, Spags, like, what the hell is going on? Like,
It's that old Mortal Kombat move where you just do the low sweeping leg kick over and over again. Nobody can get near you. You just trip them every time, right? Like, hey, it works.
The touchdown where Josh Allen ran right up the middle there at the goal line was pretty frustrating because when you watch the replay, they don't have any linebackers or anybody there like in the middle of the field behind the lineman there at the goal line. And they just snapped the ball and kind of pushed the Chiefs defense over just a little bit. And he just kind of walked into the end zone. I don't know how you're not expecting Josh Miller to run it up the middle on first or second goal, whatever that play was right there at the goal line.
Exactly.
Would have liked to see maybe a little bit better defensive play call there. But overall, with this team, it's just so hard to argue with the results. Stephon Diggs is a no-show again in the postseason against the Chiefs. The guy, after standing there watching the confetti celebration after losing to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game, I don't know what he was thinking or what that was supposed. If that was supposed to be motivation or something, but the guy has just not shown up at all in the playoffs against the Chiefs in any of these 3 games. And you see him getting sideways with Josh Allen and some of the other offensive players in these games, especially last year, like after that Bengals game where he didn't do much and he's yelling at Josh Allen on the sideline. I don't know what his situation is there with Allen in Buffalo, but got to be a frustrating loss for that team and that fan base, right? I mean, if this was going to be the year you were going to get the Chiefs, I mean, this was the year to get them if you were ever going to. They were down, quote unquote, having one of their down years. Maybe offense not quite as potent as it's been in the past. You were getting them at home. How far, I mean, do we think this is a loss that maybe sets that team back a year or two, like going into next year? Nick?
Well, I mean, Josh Allen's cap number is going up. They owe, I think, $24 million to Von Miller next year. He was a no-show in this game. He didn't do shit. yeah, I think that it's got to be a confidence shaker. They've got to be sitting there looking at their coaching staff. Look, they already fired their offensive coordinator mid-season.
Right.
And now you're sitting there saying that we can't get past this team. The team that we supposedly built ourselves to beat. We went to Kinko's and got a banner for our practice facility that had a Super Bowl trophy on it, right? Saying one team, one goal. That was the goal. And you lose at home to the same team that basically always beats you. So you haven't been able to get past Joe Burrow. You haven't been able to get past Patrick Mahomes in the postseason. Yeah, it's got to have an impact in the upcoming year. There's going to be guys that I don't know that they're questioning Josh Allen, but they're probably questioning, if I want to win a ring, is this the place that I want to go?
Right.
So I think it definitely has a lasting effect on this team from a psychological standpoint. I think that it works both ways, right? Just like we were saying, Patrick and the guys, they know that they can win these games now. They've done it. They've done it for years. They've been to 3 Super Bowls.
Yeah, I mean, they expect to win these games.
Exactly. And I think it has the opposite effect where it's like you have that nagging, PTSD is too strong of a term for it, but you have that previous thing.
That is what it is.
You're in the situation and you start to kind of panic a little bit. And I think that, that's probably going to creep into some of these guys' minds. It's got to at this point.
Yeah.
Bo,
I was gonna say, I think the quote under that banner of the Super Bowl trophy in the Bills practice facility said, "This is Bills football." Underneath, I might be paraphrasing just a little bit, but something along the lines like "Bills football. This is it." I gotta see a picture of that banner going.
Because the Lombardi Trophy, the football was wide right of the uprights on the banner. If you've seen it, so
I gotta see a picture of that banner going into the trash with that headline still like visible, like "This is Bills football," and it's just going into the trash can, right? Because that is what we just did to this team. We put them in the trash can. There's certain times where you lose to a team and it's like a really tough game or a rivalry, which this has never been. I don't think it is. We just keep winning and kick.
Oh, you muted yourself, Bo.
Oh, you went on mute, dog.
Or someone muted themselves. Or someone muted Bo. I don't know who did. Bo doesn't have any audio.
Moving my mic. Shit, I lost my thought right there. Oh no, I was saying there's certain games out there where you see like it's really close game. The guys are obviously dejected, but they're like, man, we're gonna get them next year, right? There's like that little bit of optimism you can still see in them. You tell me if you see any optimism in this guy.
Sucks. Losing sucks. Losing them, losing anybody at home sucks.
Losing to them, losing to anybody. Everybody feels that way when they listen to us. Everybody's game planning. Everybody's getting new coaches. Everybody's getting new players, new game plans, new OCs, new DCs, new players. For us, we're the guys on top of the mountain, and that's what we're doing to people right now on our worst year, by the way. So, is this team in a little bit of trouble? Yeah, I don't think they're the ones, man. There's so many other teams that are so much closer. I know that they made it there, but this team was almost eliminated from the playoffs. They went on a hell of a run with a new OC, by the way, to actually get there. I was at the game where they should have lost. They should have lost that game. I'm going to say it. Kadarius Toney's foot being offsides is complete bullshit. Some people are going to say that, oh no, it was clear offsides. Hundreds and hundreds of examples of players doing it before and after that play, and it's never been called. It's never been called in Andy Reid's career, and he's the reason that the Bills even had a playoff chance. And so, hell of a run for them, but it was just writing was on the wall a long time ago with this team. They just didn't have it. And
yeah, I can see lingering. I can see lingering effects of this game going into next year, and the confidence just can't be there. His body language in that video is cringe, man. It's like,
isn't it?
Dude, he looks so uncomfortable and nervous, and just he could not wait to get out of there. He's grabbing the thing like this, and he's like ducking his head down.
Man, these shoulder pads are tight. Oh.
Right. I mean, is this getting hot in here? Kind of looks like you ever watched The Simpsons where they had like Johnny Tight Lips and Johnny the Squealer, and he's sitting there and he's like wringing his collar, and the dude's like, he just could not wait to get out of that press conference. I mean, the guy's a good player, don't get me wrong. And we've talked about Josh Allen on this show before. I feel like his prime and his peak is going to be a little bit shorter than maybe a lot of guys, because
past him.
He depends so much on his legs and his ability to run. And once that goes, he's a better passer of the ball than Cam Newton ever was, but I don't know how much better. And so, yeah, you just feel like if the 13-second game, if that year or if this year wasn't the year to get over the hump against the Chiefs, you just don't know when it will be. One last thing I think we got to acknowledge before we move on from this game is the kicking game, special teams. Butker, he was perfect. Their guy missed the game tire right there at the end. The guy's been nails again. I watched the New Heights after that the game against Miami, where said that Butker's foot had bruises on it from kicking that ball in the game. Comes out the following week, nails all of his opportunities in another tough kicking environment. That guy has been, I mean, I don't know if I say unsung heroes because he's been getting a lot of credit for it, but that guy deserves all the credit in the world, not for just how well he's played this year, but for after bouncing back after having a tough year last year and then finishing it off by kicking the Chiefs into the Super Bowl and then winning the Super Bowl. Nick Butker, that guy, what do you want to say about him?
People say they're not football players, but they come down and they're, one of the most important players on the team. And you talk about a high pressure situation. If you have a bad throw as a quarterback, you still have, unless it's a turnover, you still have another couple of downs where you can go, where you'll have another drive. I mean, you miss a kick in a crucial situation as a kicker, and you're deleting your Instagram and getting death threats. And that's the reality of what happened to Tyler Bass. I mean, it's
Keep
messed
it classy,
up.
Buffalo.
But I just think that there's an incredible amount of pressure on these guys, and it is not only is there a lot of pressure, but I think that there's like a flow state that some of these quarterbacks and some of these running backs and they can get into a groove where they're not really thinking about what they're doing. They're just reacting. But the kickers, it's all about like being technical in their technique and making sure that like they have their, I mean, you've heard Pat McAfee and some of these other guys talk about kicking. It's a very like cerebral thing where you've got to be telling your body exactly what you're going to do. Here's the wind. Here's where I'm going to aim. And then you've got all of the added pressure of, if I mess this up, we're down 7 points right now. We're going to give the ball to them. I mean, you can't say enough about what his mental state's got to be like and his ability to come through in these situations on top of all the other skill, right? I mean, it's just a rare person that can, I think, go through those high stress situations and almost every single time deliver. It's really incredible.
Yeah, dude, kickers remind me of golfers. I mean, I saw John C. just put that, but I was literally thinking of that analogy, and he was saying putting, and that's actually a better one. I was thinking driving. When you see a newcomer get on the tee box in a PGA event, it's like one of their first tournaments ever. You can see their nerves, and they'll usually ask them about, hey, what were you thinking on that drive? And they're usually, I was just happy to get it off. And I can't help but feel like most kickers in high pressure situations are the same thing. Nick mentioned Pat McAfee talking about one thing he's talked about ad nauseum is how kickers don't play for 30, 45 minutes at a time. They don't even kick, right? I mean, they have that little thing on the sideline, but that's not the same thing as kicking it in the upright, see where the ball flies, playing the wind, getting it over guys' hands and everything. So for those guys to, just come out and have the mental fortitude and the focus to sit there and just be that clutch and that automatic, that have that muscle memory to keep it between the stick or between the uprights is phenomenal. And Bucker's one of the best to do it. I'm not gonna lie. I was one of the guys that I didn't talk shit about him. I was just a little wavy
Worried?
on my like last year. I just didn't think he was that clutch. He had a little fade to it, and then like it comes out at the end of the year, he was injured, and it all makes sense. Like, oh, he was fighting an injury the entire time, and that's why. I mean, we kind of knew he was injured, but I didn't realize it went the whole season. And then you see him healthy 100% all year. Dude is just 100. Automatic. What do you go 2 for 2, and he had a 47-yard long field goal. Just kind of put Tyler Bass to shame in this game. Like, oh, it is a chip shot, man. I don't know what the big deal is. Is it windy out here? I'll just put it right down the middle. So glad he's on the team. He's been so clutch. Love butt kicker.
Yeah. So the Chiefs beat the Buffalo Bills for the third time in the postseason in the last 4 years. This week's CKO poll, if you want to get to the Twitter account there and load that baby up, kind of wanted to see what everybody's thoughts were. I mean, you've got the AFC Championship game a few years ago at Arrowhead during the COVID year. You've got that was the 2020 AFC Championship game. Got the 2021 divisional round game, which is obviously the 13-second game. And then the game on Sunday, 2023 divisional round game. I knew the 13-second game, right? We knew that was going to be the winner. I want to see how close it was. I was actually surprised that this most recent game here on Sunday actually was in the lead up until halfway through today. And then the 13-second game kind of snuck in there. Poll's still open if you want to go vote. Chiefs Kingdom Live there on X. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, all the social medias.
We're on the internets.
All the internets. This is, to me, is a tougher question than it really seems. At least I feel it is. To me, I have a hard time because being at the 13-second game was the best
It's
game
unreal
I've ever seen in my entire life, right?
Pretty freaking awesome.
But I kind of almost go back to that AFC Championship game. That was the year that everybody was saying that the Bills were the better team. All year, that was the story. Remember, they were beating people. They were winning games by 20 or 30 points every week, and that they were the new sheriff in town in the AFC. And they were going to take the Chiefs down, and Josh Allen's a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes. And the Chiefs just thumped them in that game at Arrowhead. And it was to go to the Super Bowl, right? The 13-second game, we ended up losing to the Bengals the following week. I know that really shouldn't have any impact on your opinion of the individual game itself, but I actually voted the AFC Championship. Just all the talk that year of the Bills – and the Chiefs, they're the defending champions that year, right? I mean, the way they got disrespected and the way the talk about Josh Allen was better and he was the best quarterback and he should be getting the MVP. And the Bills are clearly the best team in the AFC this year, and they're going to pass the Chiefs up to smack them around the way they did and win that game that easily and go back to the Super Bowl. I voted for that game.
That's the infamous rule change game. The overtime rule change game, right?
Right. No, that was the 13-second game, right? After that game.
Oh, that was the 13th.
Yeah.
Because we did go down score and they didn't get the answer.
Right. Yeah, there was no overtime. There was no anything in the AFC Championship game. They won that game by
Yeah. What am I?
They won by 14 or 17 points. So,
right. Yeah.
That was one where Josh Allen started whining like a baby and threw the ball at the guy who sacked him and hit him in the head with it. Remember? While he was laying on the ground and started throwing a fit. Bo, which one of these gets your vote? Favorite over the Bills?
I have a little bit of recency bias just because it was like that final nail in the coffin to just kind of shut everybody up about this. Oh, Josh Allen's better than Mahomes kind of thing, right? But that 13-second game, I go back to it. You kind of admit it. I mean, you said it, but like I feel like most Chiefs Kingdom feels that way. Like to be there and watch that game. You said it was one of the most incredible games you watched in your life. Not being there and watching that game is one of the most incredible games I've ever seen in my life. So I voted that one. It was, I mean, even though it was a defensive shit show, it was just too good. When you go back and you go back and just all the inside angles you get after the game that you had no clue about watching the broadcast or even watching live, like Josh Allen and the Bills capitalizing on one of our timeouts to read our defense and just have a wide open Gabe Davis to kind of seal the deal for him late. And then we come back and that whole, everybody knows the do it Kels scenario with Kelsey kind of saying, hey, they play it this way, I'm going to be there. And they do it, get the field goal and tie. Just so epic. I mean, everything about that game. I remember the imagery so clearly of the Bills sidelines and the jubilation that everybody's celebrating. I think one guy took out a hat early and put it on. Some guy came up and ripped it off. They're like, no, don't put that on just yet, right? Don't jinx it.
Dude, they were showing Josh Allen's family in the suite, right in the box,
hugging each
jumping
other
up and down,
and kissing, right? And that's what I'm saying. I know I saw a Bills champs t-shirt get thrown out too, and just like, oh man. And so just the whole epicness of that comeback, that's going to just live in infamy. So I had to go with that one. What about you, Nick?
So yeah, I mean, I voted for the 2023 divisional round. Recency bias, you probably said, but I think they're like in 5 years, you're going to look back and you're going to remember the 13-second game a lot more than you're going to remember this game. But for me, this was the one where it's like, okay, so like, last year, 2 years ago they got Tyreek Hill, and then it was like last year it's like
they got lucky at the end.
They got lucky. They got lucky. The Bills weren't there. They got ref calls, and they still have Travis Kelce. And now this year everybody's like, well, Travis Kelce, he's old and he's kind of washed, and you guys aren't good, and you're on the road and you're not going to win, and we still freaking won. And so to me, that was like the one where it's like, dude, like you have zero excuses now. There's nothing that anybody can say about like the greatness of this team over the last few years now, in my opinion, regardless of what happens. Right. So, I mean, that's kind of why I voted, but I mean, I think the enduring game we all know that we're going to, forever remember is the 2021 divisional round. Especially because Scotty and I, like you said, we were there, right? I mean, it was so cold, but it was just the feeling of jubilation at the end of that game is something that, I mean, I'm never gonna forget. So, I mean, I recency bias definitely, but
no. Be interested to see what everybody in the chat has to say. Or like I said, you can go over to @Chiefs Kingdom Live there on X and give us a follow if you're not already. And vote in that sucker. Polls are still open.
Nico, I think the heart that Kelsey was throwing up was to his big brother there, Jason Kelsey, for the support and admiration he had for his hard work during that game.
I'm pretty sure that he said that was to the Bills Mafia, the heart, because all the hate they got on the way into the stadium and the hate and the trash talk when they were walking onto the field. That's what I thought I'm pretty sure. He kind of said that he was showing some love to showing Bills Mafia that was all love, even though they were being hateful and disrespectful to him and Patrick and the team. Good to see our man Nick in here. I feel for your Browns, man. I wasn't rooting against them. I just had a feeling that the Joe Flacco reunion tour, right, it was going to come to an end at some point, and unfortunately, it was at the hand of the Houston. I was hoping they were going to beat the Texans, and then that they could, hopefully maybe like take care of the Ravens or something, and then we'd get to play them at home in the championship game. Didn't work out that way, but the Browns, man, they
proved a lot this
year, and they battled through some adversity and had a good season to get to where they got. So you figure if they can get Deshaun back next year, and that defense and some of them guys get another year experience, they could be they could be a contender in the AFC next year, no doubt. But
on the old locker room rant, me included, gave you a lot of hard time about talking up the Browns, but I think that they proved that you were a lot more right than I was about that team. So kudos to the season you guys had.
Dude, it's just weird to say the Browns are a good team, right? Like it just doesn't roll off the tongue. Like, I mean, that's the way it was being a Chiefs fan 7 years ago, but just Browns are good now, huh?
Right. And Nick won his bet there that we had. So We need to scroll the Chiefs Kingdom Live email address there so he can email me his address. I need to get you your cash there.
Throw up
Nick,
your Venmo,
you won that bet
Nico.
fair and
Have
square, my
everybody
man.
donate
So
to you.
I'm gonna pay up. So
Give a shout out here to Freddie watching on TV
Yo, what's up,
at
Freddie?
Chris's house. Happy birthday, Grandpa
Yep.
Freddie.
Freddie,
Hey,
the
happy
man.
birthday.
Freddie
The man's
is
seen many a Chiefs
I mean-
games in his lifetimes and is a big Chiefs fan. So happy birthday, Freddie. Good to see you, Pop. Appreciate you watching, man.
Has he seen them all?
He's probably seen just about every one of them, I can imagine. If not, as close to seeing all of them. So we're an hour in. We haven't even talked about the AFC Championship game coming up this Sunday at
Is there a game on this
Baltimore
weekend?
M&T Bank Stadium. The Baltimore Ravens, the number 1 seed in the AFC. Chiefs continue this road show, this tour. Next stop, Baltimore, Maryland. A feisty Ravens team. 3.5-point favorites at home, which really shows that Vegas thinks this is a pick'em game. How are we feeling before we kind of get into what we think the keys to the game are, key matchups, whatnot? How are we feeling, confidence level about the game coming up on Sunday, Nick?
I was talking to you about this earlier. I had some nerves going into this Bills game, just because I think there's some things at stake. First road game in Mahomes' career. I don't feel any of those nerves about this Ravens game. I'm not saying that we're just going to go in and dog walk them or anything. That's not what my meaning is. But I just feel like what we've seen in the Chiefs and the Ravens over the last several years since Lamar Jackson's been their quarterback is we've seen some good games. But for the most part, we've seen the Chiefs match up better against the Ravens than they do against the Bills. So, it's been a couple of years since we played them, so that could obviously change, but our defense is way better now than it was even back then. And I just, I'm not saying it's not going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a close game, but I just really feel like we match up well against this team. And for whatever reason, Steve Spagnuolo seems to be able to really game plan around Lamar Jackson better than some of the other defensive coordinators that you see. So,
Bo, how are you feeling? Pretty confident? You feeling good?
Yeah,
about this
man.
one?
I echo Nick's sentiments exactly, pretty much. I had some weird feelings about going to this Buffalo game. There was a lot like ego stuff, like just shit talking stuff on the line for that game, let alone, the consequences of moving on to the next round. This one, it's like, hold the presses. Lamar Jackson's won a playoff game. He's the best quarterback out there. We're like, do you not know who the quarterback for Kansas City
The clear
is?
MVP.
Have you not seen him the past couple weeks just starting to catch fire and develop a young team? I feel great about this game, actually. I'm with Nick. I don't think that we're just going to go in there and mollywop them or anything, but we look good. We look good right now. And okay, the Dolphins are supposed to be the most electrifying team in the NFL this season. They scored 70 points. We held Tyreek and Waddle to maybe 1 touchdown in 2 games. The same thing with the Buffalo Bills. They're the next hot team, though. They're going to win. They're the number 2 seed now. Watch out. They're going. You have to. They're hosting the Chiefs at their house. Watch out. It's going to be so cold, and the fans are like, beat them, right? It's just another overhyped team. I feel like that. Like you're just putting the Chiefs as the underdogs. You're underrating who we have at the helm, both coaching and in the skills positions. And I see it turning out in our favor. I'm not too worried about this at all.
Yeah, I feel good about this game. I don't. The nerves aren't there. The rivalry it really isn't there with the Ravens. The Chiefs and the Ravens really haven't played in a lot of big games. There's been some hyped games, right, and some games in the regular season when maybe the teams were close, and you're thinking, well, maybe this has playoff implications and seeding and tiebreakers down the road. But then the Ravens, that they didn't really make the playoffs, or they kind of never really made it far enough. If they did make it in there to face the Chiefs, so. These teams aren't as familiar with each other. I mean, they've played each other, right? They didn't play this season, but we've got a fairly decent sample size of games between the Chiefs and the Ravens.
Mahomes
I feel
and Jackson,
good.
right?
Look,
4 times they played?
John Harbaugh is a better coach than Sean McDermott, so I think the Ravens have the better coach. I think they're the better team. Their defense is definitely better than the Bills. Look, the Bills' defense was kind of crumbling and aging here the last couple of years from that number 1 unit that they had there for a couple seasons. they were also had some pretty significant injuries going into this postseason and in this game against the Chiefs. So that's a tougher test there, but I'm just really not that worried about it. We got Patrick Mahomes, we got Andy Reid. Like
Exactly.
they Chiefs know they can win this game. We talked about it, Nick. You mentioned earlier. They know they can win this game. The Chiefs almost expect to win this game at this point. This is Lamar Jackson's first AFC Championship game. This team has not been this far in the playoffs. How long has it been since they played an AFC Championship game, right? I mean,
It's like 13 or 14 years, maybe even a little bit more
than
than
that. They lost
that.
at home to
2012?
the Chargers in the playoffs a couple of years
2010?
ago. Lamar Jackson, Dylan's got a good question here. Who's scary? Josh Allen is definitely scarier to me than Lamar Jackson is. I feel like Josh Allen is like 90% the runner that Lamar Jackson is. Maybe he doesn't have that top end 6th gear speed that Lamar Jackson has. But I feel like Lamar Jackson is maybe like half or 2/3 the passer that Josh Allen is. So, I feel real good about it. It's this Chiefs team right now, just the way they're playing. And I kind of feel like everybody's talking about like the Ravens are clearly the better defense and the best defense in the NFL. They've given up over 30 points this year. They struggled at home. They had a tough game against the Rams at home a couple weeks ago. I know the Browns went in and beat the Ravens in Baltimore earlier this season. This is a team that can be beaten. And you brought up a good point about Spags. This team has done a good job at limiting Lamar Jackson when they've played him in the past. I feel like they have the formula. Just don't let him get out. Don't let him get outside and beat you with the run game. Stay disciplined. I feel like you can, kind of don't really need to sack him a whole lot, right? It's not really about getting sacks. It's kind of about maybe pressuring him, making him feel uncomfortable in passing downs, and just containing him. And don't let him get the edge. Stay sound in your run responsibilities. Nick, do you think the Ravens defense is better than the Chiefs defense?
I think they're pretty close, right? I think that the Ravens have a lot more quality wins than the Chiefs do this year. I think they beat they won 11 games against playoff teams this year. Now, they also had
Steelers and
Steelers and Browns in their division, in which they lost one of those games each. They split those games. One of them, I don't think they were playing their starters against
they
the Steelers.
Beat the Dolphins though, which was like the 6th seed. I mean, they're not.
Yeah, I mean, and they didn't allow a play within the red zone against the Texans, who are a fine team. We were talking about a rookie quarterback, right? That's overachieved, an organization that's overachieved in his his second playoff game. I mean, it's not the quality win that, beating even the Dolphins is in my view, right? You're talking about, Tyreek Hill on the other side of the ball. And the Chiefs defense held them outside of play in the red zone, I believe. I think that they're pretty close, to be honest. The Ravens may have a slight edge. I think that they're perennially a better defense, but I would put our guys up against theirs, man. Our guys know how to play. Our guys know how to hit.
Right.
We've got great cover corners. So it's going to be an interesting matchup.
Yeah. Bo, you think it's night and day that the Ravens have better defense than the Chiefs?
No, not at all, man. I think most people would start to argue that, like, if you're like, who's the best defense in the NFL, it would be between those two, and there's stats to be thrown out for either one. Right. I think it will be a great defensive battle. Kind of going back a little bit to if Lamar Jackson's scarier than Josh Allen. I completely agree with everything you said. Like, overall, Josh Allen probably is scarier, but the reason I think I'd be a little bit more scared about Jackson in this game specifically is kind of the reasons Nick was pointing out. Like, look at what happens when we face a really good passer. nothing. Our corners and safeties lock them the fuck down. And so that's what I'm a little bit more worried about Jackson, is because he's just a better runner. And we kind of saw Allen utilize that and kind of exploit it a little bit. But, to the positive spin on that is we got a lot of good looks and a lot of good practice on a team that's super similar in that regards, that we're going to have a lot of spy work ahead of us. We're going to have a lot of work in front of the linebackers to pay attention to that guy and whether or not he's going to be mobile or not. As far as the defenses go, though, dude, I look at the receivers we've faced this year: Diggs, Jefferson, Chase, St. Brown, Wilson, Tyreek, Adams. You know what I mean? Like, who did the Baltimore Ravens play? I mean, I know they played some really good teams. They played like the Niners. Did they play Miami? But like, okay, outside of that, they just did not have the same caliber of guys that we've had. We've just been sharpening that blade all season. We have a samurai sword now on defense. So I would kind of give the edge to us for that regard.
Right. Yeah. So this team, they've shown. The Allen and Jackson comparison to me, man, is like, I've seen Josh Allen hurt this team way worse than Lamar Jackson ever has when we've played these teams. So
sure.
No disrespect to Lamar Jackson at all. He's a fine player. He's definitely a guy you got to worry about. You got a game plan around it. You have to be aware of him at all times. It goes back to, I think the Chiefs, they've got the formula for playing Lamar Jackson and kind of know his strengths and weaknesses and really how to attack his weaknesses and limit what he does well. When it comes to the Ravens defense, how many times have we heard the Chiefs are going up against the number one defense in the NFL and Patrick Mahomes has a field day? Yeah. This team has been a couple of those number one defenses in the past, right? And for whatever reason, it seems that Patrick Mahomes has got like the game genie when he plays these number one defenses and when he's playing teams like the Ravens. So, JT,
game genie. Haven't heard that one.
It took a long time to get here. Trust me, man. Like, it's a long. I mean, Nick and I were talking about this last week. He was nervous. He's like, "You're not worried at all about this Bills game?" I was like, "I mean, not really." Like, no. We own this team. We beat them in the playoffs. We always do. The couple times they clipped us in the regular season was because guys were dropping passes that got tipped up in the air for pick sixes and things.
Toes were across the line.
Right, toe across the line. I mean, and that's just the Patrick Mahomes effect too. So
you made me laugh. I started choking.
Dude, we're talking about the 13-second play and how great of a 13-second game, how great of a game that was. I was at that Bills game where Kadarius Toney had his foot over the line. And
yeah, me too.
I know laterals aren't nothing new in football. When I pointed this out on the internet, I got reamed for it because everybody does this. It's just a lateral.
That wasn't your typical lateral.
That was a 35-yard spiral that was this close to being deflected and tipped, and just a live ball in one of the worst moments possible to send them home. And they converted it. I'm sorry. Like, that was the weakest call. And oh man.
Yeah. And talking about the Ravens, their run game, they've lost their best running backs this year. Keaton Mitchell went down with an injury a few weeks ago. And they lost J.K. Dobbins earlier in the year. They've got Justice Hill and Gus Edwards. Yeah. And Gus Edwards can kind of be a boss, especially down there by the goal line. He's like a bruising kind of type running back. To me, the Chiefs, you can sell out to beat the run more against the Ravens than you can against the Bills because the threat that Allen poses, throwing the ball, and receivers like Diggs, I mean – Lamar Jackson's got some decent guys. Mark Andrews, he's not a Stephon Diggs number one wide receiver talent like Travis Kelce. He's a good player. We'll see if he comes back or not.
I was going to say, does he have him? I know he was hurt forever, but he's going to be rusty.
Right. They're young, too. They got the rookie Flowers, wide receiver, who's had a decent year. He's kind of like right there neck and neck with Chi Rice. But an old OBJ, Nelson Aguilar, they don't have receivers that really strike fear in your heart like some of these other teams that the Chiefs have played and that they've been able to contain. So I just expect a little bit different game plan. I think they're going to say, you are not going to beat you're not going to beat us running the ball. And if your receivers and Lamar Jackson can air it out and beat us over the top and beat us that way, then so be it. But
that's a bold prediction, JT.
Don't see it happening.
It's probably going to be about as good as my Mecole Hardman prediction last week.
Player of the game.
Player of the game.
To watch.
He hasn't played football in 2 months.
2 touches, 2 fumbles.
Mecole Hardman got hosed on that fumble. Listen, man, like the ball comes out simultaneously as he hits the ground. There was nothing that was clear and obvious that was the ball was out before he touched the ground, man. Like, and I would be saying it the other way. If it would have been a fumble, I would have been watching that saying, "Yeah, there's no way they overturned that. It's not. I mean, it was like
I thought
bang,
it was a
bang,
fumble.
Man.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. I do agree with that too. It was almost what seemed instantaneously, but when I saw it live, I said, "Oh no, that's a touchback." And then after I saw all the replays, it's like, well, there's no way they're not overturning that. So I didn't see
how they could overturn that, man. He got a raw deal on that. I mean,
right.
Well, the ball's starting to move. Okay, so the nose of the freaking ball moves a quarter of an inch, a millisecond before your ass hits the ground. That's clear and obvious that it was out. No, man. I mean, that just.
So a lot of talk's been going around the internet this week because of that play. What do you guys think of that rule? Do you guys think it's an okay rule that if the ball gets fumbled out of your end zone, it's change of possession? There's so many. I didn't realize this was a heated thing. I thought everybody just knew, like, that's just what it is.
I'm fine with the rule. If you listen to New Heights today, Travis and Jason Kelsey both said they were fine with the rule. I think you should be penalized. I think you should be penalized if you fumble the ball. What are you going to do?
Intended.
Put the ball at the 1? Maybe you could do something like you move it back to the 10, and that's the penalty instead of giving the other team the ball. I don't know if I really have a problem with the rule or not, but
right.
I mean, Nick, what do you think?
Yeah, I like that
rule. With it?
I like that rule. I've always supported that rule. You know, this has been cropping up for years. I mean, even since Dan Sorensen knocked the ball out in the back of the end zone against the Browns in the divisional a few years ago, at the end of the half, right? They're like, oh, well, that crap rule. And, okay. I mean, but it is the rule, and you should be penalized for fumbling the ball out of the end zone. I don't know. It seems like it makes sense to me. I mean, if it goes back the other way on the offense, it's a safety, right? I mean, nobody argues with that. So I think it makes sense. I heard, well, the Bills guy batted out of bounds and it's like 10 yards back. That should be similar to what it is. Look, you got to protect the ball, man. Scott, you and I were kind of debating over this during the game. I think when you're in that situation, like, you've got to have that ball like up against your body. You can't let the ball get away from your body. When you do that, bad stuff happens, man. So I like the rule.
I think it's one of those. It's one of those instances where it's like hindsight's clearly 2020, though, and I would agree with you. Yeah, it seems obvious. It's first down. You don't need to be going for that play. But a little part of me loves the fact that, like, everybody's trying so hard that he's just trying for that extra inch. It's right there. It's so tempting. How can you not? I don't know. I'm on the fence with this one.
Yeah, I think that, like, in the instance where that guy batted the ball out of the field of play and it's a penalty, like, I think that should be a turnover, dude. Like, you shouldn't be able to, just kick the ball out of bounds or whatever to save a turnover. I don't know. So
I heard the Bills are planning to propose a new rule change that if you fumble the ball out of the end zone, it's actually a touchdown for the defense and you get 7 points. So
they're also going to expand the uprights to extend 6 feet to the right.
Yeah, that
left upright,
that rule, and they're also proposing a rule change that if the home team misses a field goal in the fourth quarter, they get a do-over. So see if that gets passed or not, like their overtime.
The argument that the punishment is too severe, like, what? So now with, like, interceptions and fumbles, as a turnover, that's too severe of a punishment.
Right.
If he had just put the ball a yard further, it wouldn't have been a turnover. I mean, I just don't
know.
Logic
Say,
you don't fumble the ball.
Yeah, well, there's people saying, well, the defense doesn't pick it up, so they shouldn't be rewarded by getting the ball. Well, they couldn't pick it up because you fumbled it out of the end zone. Like, I don't know.
But you fumbled it. Here's the deal. You fumbled it out of their end zone.
Right.
Dude, and like sports have just those wacky rules. All sports do, right? And that's like the one zone, the one area, the one time where that's the case, right? You fumble it out of bounds any other place, that's the new line of scrimmage. Unless you're batting it out, then there's a penalty for batting it, right? Or a safety. Like it's defined. It's one of the rules. Like, tell me about how much sense a throw in makes in soccer. Like, you can't use your hands except for when it goes out of bounds, and you got to use your hands to throw it in. Why don't you just kick it in? Tell me about balking and pitching. There's just so many weird rules in all these sports that it's just weird that people like have such a finicky one over this one, or such a finicky point of view over this one.
It's because they think that people trying to reach the ball over the goal line is exciting, and this like keeps people from trying to do it. I think that that's really the reason they're like, hey, look, when they're running, you want the guy to try to stick the ball out to score a touchdown, and you don't get that as much because they literally teach people, hey, dude, like, do not do that. Like, if you because if you fumble, it goes to the other team. So I think that that's why a lot of people don't like that rule. But like, they need to keep some rules for the defense that like helps the defense. I mean, they've
a little bit, right?
Rules for the defense so much. They got to keep something, man.
Yeah. So I don't have a problem with the rule. I don't think I think more people are okay with the rule than aren't really. But getting back to this Ravens game, I mean, really, like, the way the Ravens win is if Lamar Jackson just goes off and has a crazy game like he did in the second half against the Texans, right? I mean, that's they were a missed field goal away from being down at halftime against the Texans in that game. And CJ Stroud looks to be a tremendous player, had a great season, but they're the Houston Texans are not the Kansas City Chiefs.
Rookie's gonna rook.
Yeah. So it's just, yeah. I mean, I know JT's sitting there like, these fucking guys are this confident about beating the number 1 seed on the road in the playoffs. But the Chiefs have the pedigree, they have the experience, they have the quarterback edge. I feel like they have the coaching edge. Defenses pretty even. And a big part of it too is after watching that post-game locker room video after the Bills game, Travis and Patrick and that team, man, they are ready to go. They are ready for this game. They're going to go into the enemy territory, hostile environment with zero concerns, right? There's not going to be any trepidation or any kind of reservations or lack of confidence on their part going into this game. Nick, I mean, they're supremely confident, right? At this point in the season, after the way they've ended the year and whipped up on the Dolphins at home and then went on the road and took down the Bills, right?
Yeah. They've answered all of the questions that they may have had about themselves, even in BS. You know, he's sitting there, and kudos to him for just not giving up on the season, right? I mean, he could have given up, but he had a couple of crucial catches. One of them was, an insane catch on the sideline. So yeah, I think that they've answered the questions. The defense knows if we can get a few stops, that should be enough for Patrick to win, right? Everybody believes when they got 15 on their team that they can win, and that they're a game away from a Super Bowl, right? So you've got, the defense has played well all year. So yeah, I think that they're just in a mindset where they know they can do it, right? The Ravens, like, I'm not saying they don't think that
they think they can do it,
but they don't know that they can do it, right? They weren't there last year. They haven't been in this game for the last half decade. And so I just think that just gives the Chiefs such an edge. It takes the pressure off of them, like now Lamar, like he's sitting there with the pressure of, okay, you got paid all this money, you're going to win a second MVP. You've never made it to this game before. Yeah, you beat a playoff team, but you beat a playoff team with a rookie quarterback, right? Now you're going against the playoff king, right? The new playoff king. And I just think that just puts a lot of pressure on the guy. It's a team that he has a losing record against. He said it himself. I know he's trying to be funny. But there's truth in every jest. He doesn't like playing Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, he was also trying to be respectful of Patrick.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Saying,
Look,
like,
I don't
this
think
dude's
he
a
was sitting there saying
badass,
I'm
right?
scared of him. He's like, I mean, I don't like playing him, like
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, nobody does.
yeah, well, most people lose when they play him. So yeah, so like I think that the Ravens, though, I don't want to make it seem like they don't have a good team. They have a great team.
Right.
I
Yeah,
mean,
this isn't any disrespect to the Ravens.
over the course of the season, the best team in the NFL. I mean, does anybody here
Yeah.
doubt that?
No.
There's no
No.
team that has performed at the level that the Ravens have played all season. So I have nothing but respect for them. I have nothing but respect for Lamar Jackson, what he's done. I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't think he was going to be playing at this level this many years down the road based on how his career was. I mean, he was a running quarterback. I thought, look, he's going to get beat up and then some of that running's going to go away. And then you're going to kind of see him fall back down to earth. But he's gotten better as a passer, right? And so he is more of a dual threat guy rather than a running quarterback that can throw the ball sometimes. So I mean, I'm expecting a battle, but I just still, the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior, and Patrick Mahomes is 13-3 in the postseason, and Lamar Jackson has won 2 playoff games and lost 3. So I just feel like based on that, you gotta look at the Chiefs and like their chances of going in there and pulling off the upset. I guess I mean it's
JT saying maybe the 49ers were the best team over the course of the season, but they got whipped by the Ravens at home a few weeks ago. I mean, the Ravens went into the Niners' house and smoked them. So it's going to be big. Like a huge key to this game is going to be the Chiefs getting up on them early, and that builds right to that pressure. Like the Ravens, oh no, this isn't the way this is going. This isn't the way this is supposed to go. Oh no, it's Patrick Mahomes. Start pressing to try to worry about having to come back and maybe get out of what they want to do, and maybe like their game of play defense, run the ball, control the clock. I think getting a lead and not getting down is going to be key to this game. Although these are the comeback kids as well. I mean, I don't know. Patrick Mahomes has won more games that he's lost in the playoffs when he's been down by double digits. So that's not an insurmountable task.
But I mean, there's statistics to prove that if you can get a 2-score lead on Lamar Jackson, he almost never wins the game.
Yeah, exactly. And especially in a game of this magnitude with this kind of pressure and when the stakes are as high as they are, that's just that's just gonna compact the nerves and make those guys start pressing. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's two best teams in the AFC. I know the Bills were the 2 seed, but they were 6-6 a few weeks ago and were circling the drain and were a Kadarius Toney foot offsides away from not even making the playoffs. I think these are the 2 best teams in the AFC going at it. And Patrick's
that's fair.
Just being on the road to me is again, I made this point earlier, but to me it's giving this team a whole new set of goals and something new to prove and giving them a chip on their shoulder, and they're out to prove that they can do it and do some stuff that they haven't done. So score predictions. You guys want to get some score predictions on the board for this game?
Let's do it.
Who wants to go first?
Yeah, I'll do it, man. Again, so with everything we've said tonight, taking it all into account, right? I just feel like teams at this point in the NFL schedule, they have to take advantage of whatever weakness they can see in their enemy. And right now, the weakness I'm seeing in ourselves is the run game, the run defense, especially not our run game, our run defense and the ability to stop their run game. And then we saw it in the Bills game, like a mobile quarterback can really crush us. And I know, like you were alluding to, like they're on 3rd and 4th option running backs right now, but Justice Hill and Gus Edwards aren't no slumps. And then they have this guy named Dalvin Cook in their background, right? Who I know he didn't do much for the Jets last year and anything, but this last game he had like 3 carries for 40 yards or something. Wasn't really a slouch up for minimal options.
Kind of garbage time, but yeah.
Yeah, sure, but still, he's a dude, right? He's like somebody you always got to worry about. And if it's one of our weaknesses is like us preventing the run game, and they got 3 dudes there, like that's what I'm just kind of a little worried about. But with that being said, like I feel like our defense is top notch. We got this guy named Furious George on our line now. Him and Chris Jones. They're doing a hell of a job putting a lot of pressure on O lines, and I really feel like it's going to disrupt not only Lamar but their ability to run that ball. So give me the Chiefs as always, but a closer game than I had predicted last year. Let's go, or not last year, last week. Let's go 30-24.
30-24. Nick, you want to go next or you want to go last?
No, I'll go next. Look, I think that we talked about this a little bit, but really the game plan needs to be kind of the opposite of what we did to the Bills. The Bills, we were like, okay, don't let them beat us passing, force them to be patient and run the ball, check down, and eventually Josh Allen is going to try to force the ball downfield and make mistakes, right? And ultimately that ended up costing him at the end of the game. Here we need to say, okay, well, let's not let him beat us with his legs. Let's try to contain him in the pocket. And if that means that we have some one-on-one, looks with man coverage against their receivers, I'm guessing that I'm going to take our corners over your receivers, and we're going to try to, force him and dare him to throw the ball, right? Let's see if he can beat us throwing the ball. Because he's an electric quarterback, but definitely he's a better runner than a passer, right? Even though he's good at both. So I think that's going to be the look that you're going to see there. I think you're going to see the Chiefs probably still have a couple of struggles in the red zone, and I'm thinking that we're going to win this game like a 23-20.
30. 23-20.
23-20.
That's not a bad score. I'm going 27-21. Chiefs.
All right.
I can see the offensive. I can see the offensive production being similar to what they did against the Bills. They left some points on the field against the Bills. I mean, they had a play where they were down by the goal line, right? We talked about it just a few minutes ago with the fumble through the end zone that cost them points. They had a series down there in the red zone where Patrick Mahomes kind of overthrew Travis Kelce. He overthrew MVS, but I also think MVS didn't really jump or do all that good of a job trying to get to that ball. I feel like maybe if he would have maybe got up a little bit more and had a little bit more hop, a little bit more pep in his step there, he could have come down with that one. So the Chiefs easily could have scored over 30 in that game. So I'm going to take them 27 again. Like I said, 27-21. Almost feels like maybe that's not close enough. Maybe I should be picking 27-24 or something, but I don't think it's.
I like how you priced it. You price is right, Laney there. 27-20, 27-21. So
27-21. Feeling good. I'm looking forward to this game, man. I remember a day. Man. I remember a day not long ago where I was just praying, can the Chiefs just please make an AFC Championship game in my lifetime?
We talked about it for years.
Playoff game?
So can we just win a playoff game? Can we just make an AFC Championship game? I sat there. I remember I watched the Jaguars play the Patriots in an AFC Championship game, and I was sort of thinking, the fucking Jaguars can make it to this game, and we can't, man. All the teams and the Priest Holmes and Trent Greens and Tony Gonzalez's and Travis Kelce's and Jamal Charles's, and you know what I mean? And man, now here it is. 6 years. What were you doing 6 years ago?
Not this podcast, that's for sure.
Right. I mean,
So, hey, JT asked.
I was still my early 30s 6 years ago. You know what I'm saying?
JT asked, who's better in y'all's mind, Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes?
Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, talent-wise, for sure. He's already surpassing metrics Tom Brady took 15 seasons to make, right? So
yeah, I just Tom Brady. I feel like Patrick can do all of the pocket, traditional, old school style quarterback things that Tom Brady could do. And he can also get outside the pocket and run and make plays with his legs and throw the ball on the run and make throws and passes, and has a stronger arm than Brady ever had. Maybe that's a little bit of homerism, bias. I don't know, but
Well, are we saying like Brady's the GOAT just because of the number of rings he has, or like his on-field accomplishments, right?
He's a
Because,
better
like,
player. And I mean, I don't. I think most people would look at the two guys and say Patrick Mahomes is the better player, right? I mean, he's not as accomplished. He hasn't won as much. Hasn't played as long as Tom Brady either. Maybe that story's still being told for Patrick. But I think when it just comes to the player, what they can do, I just think Patrick Mahomes can do so many more things on the football field that Tom Brady could never do. Nick?
Yeah, I guess it depends on your definition of better. Who would I rather have on my team? And it's tough, right? Like Brady, he had the same kind of thing that Patrick has, where he just knew how to win in the postseason, and that's such a rare talent. But outside of losing to 2 games to Tom Brady and 1 to Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes has never lost a playoff game, as where Tom Brady lost to Eli Manning twice. Tom Brady lost to Joe Flacco. Tom Brady lost to
Nick Foles.
Yeah, I mean,
Super Bowl.
Mark Sanchez. So there's some losses in there. And Mahomes, he doesn't have the 3rd ring that Brady had at this age, but he has won more playoff games than Tom Brady had won before the age of 30. And Patrick Mahomes still has a couple of years before he turns 30. So I think if you look at the success of them, like they're neck and neck. And I think that if you look at them statistically, it's odd, because it's like, there's probably other people that have said this, so I'm not saying anything new, so apologies here, but it's like, we want to sit there and say, what's the new Brady Manning? But it's like Patrick Mahomes has had the statistics and the success, right, in the postseason. So he's done it without the players. So, I mean, I think that overall, put in the situation that, that Tom Brady was in, I think Patrick Mahomes would have had the same or better success. Let me put it that way. So who's had the better career? You can't measure that until they're over. But I think that if he's not better, he's at least as good. I mean, I just don't see where you can make that argument. I mean, outside of the fact that they played each other twice in the postseason, Tom Brady was 2-0, but I mean, Tom Brady was like a wise old player with like good defense on the Bucs, right? Patrick Mahomes in his first year as a starter, and he still took him to overtime in his first year as a starter, right?
D Ford lined up
was offsides. Yeah, so I feel like I feel like they're very close as far as their ability to win. But I think from like a statistical standpoint, I think Patrick Mahomes is a more talented player.
Dude, I completely agree. I just feel like we've reached a time in sports, though, where it's in football, not sports. Reached a time in football where the amount of rings isn't going to necessarily dictate if you were the greatest to play. I mean, look at other sports. I mean, golf's a bad example because Tiger just crushed everything. Let's go like NBA. Okay, let's do the NBA, right? So like Jordan, like I think Jordan or LeBron is going to be like the top 2. Who's the GOAT in basketball, right? They're nowhere near. Who is it? Bill Russell for the Celtics. They had like 13 championships, right? Like it's not even, nobody even talks about him. Like who's the greatest basketball player of all time, right? And so it's kind of weird because it's one of those things like only time can tell who's going to be the superior quarterback in this. But I kind of look at it as if Mahomes was to retire today or tomorrow, next week or something, and you would just look at his accomplishments in the span and look at percentages and numbers, I think Mahomes would actually have the edge. He has a crazier playoff win percentage. The MVPs, the ability that Nick said to hit scramble and make plays outside the pocket are just unmatched.
Right. Well, when you look at Patrick Mahomes too, his first most passing yards to his first X amount of games, most touchdown passes to X amount of games, most wins to his first X number of games, whatever you want to set that number X at, he's number 1 in all of that stuff. And JT's like, well, at least you recognize the bias. I said I'm not sure if there's a bias there. Maybe there is. I just feel like if Patrick Mahomes played for another team, as a fan of the sport, I would look at him and Tom Brady, and I would still feel the same way. I'd say Patrick can do so much more. than Tom Brady could do. On the
So
field.
I think that the
Tom
reason
Brady
that a
couldn't
lot
get
of
out of the
people,
pocket and run the way
yeah,
Patrick Mahomes did. I mean, Tom Brady's not making that play against the Tennessee Titans in that AFC Championship game where he head fakes the defender and gets to the edge and runs down the sidelines and spins in between 3 tacklers and gets into the end zone. He doesn't run and do these sidearm diving passes that Patrick can do. He doesn't have the arm, I don't think, that Patrick Mahomes has. So I'm pretty confident that I would feel the same way if Patrick played for a different team.
I think that the reason that Jordan sticks out to people still is, I mean, he won a lot of championships, but I think there's like a flair in elegance, in like a sense of like Jordan is playing the game in like a I don't know, like a beautiful way, right? Like the way that some of his dunks and I think that you get more of that with Patrick Mahomes than you do with Tom Brady. Tom Brady was a very like efficient, robotic pocket passer, and you see Patrick Mahomes kind of doing some things in like an elegant way, right? And JT, I know like, that video you sent me where the guy's kind of doing Patrick Mahomes stuff a little exaggerated to make it look effeminate. It's pretty funny.
Walking off the field.
Yeah. He's like, it was really funny. I was thinking about it actually after he won the Bills game and he was jumping up and down. But I think that has something to do with it too. And you look at some of the marquee plays that Patrick Mahomes has put out there, and he's just kind of doing some things in like a way that I don't know. It's nothing I've ever seen before. How about that, right?
Yeah.
Like you see some things and you're just like, dude, I've never seen somebody do that. And this game's been played at a professional level for over 100 years now. And to me, that also adds to that factor of why I like him. And then also, I am a fan of the Chiefs.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I'd be interested to see have JT answer that question. Who does he think's a better player is?
But going on to that flair of Jordan, was part of that flair and mystique him going to finals 5 years in a row, or was it 6 years in a row, or whatever it was? Like it's that back to back to back making it to the big show, right? Tom Brady, I mean, like I feel like his biggest asterisk was, oh man, he had like a 7-year slump and then he turned it on again, right? Like I don't know, it's just not the same span. I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to like knock Tom Brady. I mean, what he did was so impressive, and his longevity in it is just as equally impressive. And I think that's what's so fascinating about him is he was able to just put up such ridiculous numbers for playing for so long. And I think that's what's kind of unheard of in the NFL. Is what did he play like 18 years or something like that?
20.
No, longer than that.
Was it 20? Yeah, like
it was
just
a long
ridiculous.
time. And he took care of his body and was a health nut and worked his ass off. And so ton of respect to him. Look, I was saying like a guy might be like the second best player at this position you ever saw in your lifetime. That's no disrespect, right? So
we don't think you're trying to knock Mahomes or anything, man.
I see people make arguments both ways. So
what's the reasoning though that you'd put Brady above Mahomes, JT? I'm just curious. Is it the amount of rings, the longevity? Is there a stat you can point to, or is it just like feel for the game kind of thing? Because not gonna lie, that dude he just dissected defenses. There was no question about it.
Yeah, he did. He also took a lot of sacks and got hit on plays that Patrick Mahomes never would have gotten sacked on either. I mean, I might have to disagree with you a little bit that Tom Brady didn't do those things because he didn't need to. If you ever watched Tom Brady try to run, the guy couldn't run. I mean, he looked like
unless it was a QB sneak.
Well, that was one of like the jokes before all the games. They would show his combine sprint, right? And they'd like ghost in Rich Eisen with him, and then like linemen too, just clowning on his 40 time, Tom Brady.
Yeah, no, I mean, he was definitely a very cerebral player and definitely understood defenses and definitely was a smart guy and found the open guys and took what was there and played and, took what defenses gave him. So, I mean, 1A and 1B there, that's a pretty good compliment when you're talking about a guy.
When a non-Chiefs fan saying that the quarterback currently playing for your team is 1B all time,
right?
I'll take it.
6th year.
Right. I mean, No
when
doubt.
when we sat through Tyler Palco and Tyler Thigpen,
Brady Quinn,
Damon
Brody
Heward.
Croyle. I mean, some of these guys, she said Damon Heward. Man, yeah. But, well, I'm pumped about this game for Sunday. Really looking forward to it. Really appreciate everybody who joined us, watched the show tonight. 2 hours strong, and it looks like pretty much everybody's been hanging with us in here the entire time.
Thank you, everybody. You guys rock.
Yep,
Just before you outro here, Dylan is asking, does the winner of the AFC Championship go on to win the Super Bowl?
If I was going to bet money on it, I'd bet money on that. Who do you before we get out real quick, who do we think goes to the Super Bowl? I mean, everybody here's picking the Chiefs, right, to win. I don't know if JT's picking the Chiefs or not, but I mean, everybody in the comments is going to pick the Chiefs. Everybody on this panel is picking the Chiefs. Who are you guys picking in the NFC, Lions or Niners?
I'm going
sorry.
Chiefs Niners rematch.
There you go. Sorry, John V. I'm going Lions, man. Had a change of heart. Something about that crew right now. They're riding a wave of momentum.
I don't know. That 49ers defense has always had Jared Goff's number, man. I don't know. That's a tough one to pick. It's closer than people think. I'll give you that. I think I've only picked like one game right, so I went Lions, pick with Niners. I'm gonna go. I don't. I think that's a tough game to pick. I think, honestly.
You cut out on my end. I don't know if anybody else heard you. Who'd you pick?
No, I'm picking the Lions.
Lions.
Picking the Lions. Chiefs Lions rematch of Week 1 in the Super Bowl. So
yeah,
Tom doesn't like the Lions getting by the Niners. Look, man, to me it's a coin flip game. That 49ers defense, but the Lions have looked salty, and dude, that Jahmyr Gibbs, that running back they got, that dude is a fucking badass, man.
He won me fantasy this year. He's a dog,
dude. He is a dog. That guy's badass. There ain't no doubt about that. So I think I got Chiefs Lions, Bo's got Chiefs Lions, and Nick's got Chiefs Niners. So a rematch, wouldn't that be the ultimate like crescendo? Like the villain Patrick Mahomes takes down the Bills and the Ravens on the road in their stadium to go back to the Super Bowl, and then takes down the Lions in the Super Bowl. Man,
opening
that would be like
game day revenge.
Villain, that'd be like legend villain status achieved right there, man. That would just be 3 soul crushing wins over the opponents there, man. I think that guy would be.
Do you know how much America is going to be behind the Lions if they go to the Super Bowl versus the Chiefs and their story this year, man?
It'd be great because it'd be just like
great.
It'd be just like the Super Bowl last year where they're playing the disrespect card, right? And the ain't no one believing us. Put some respect on our name. Everybody, we wanted to pick the Lions, so I like the Chiefs' chances if they play the Lions in the Super Bowl. I'm just going to put that out there. The defense is played and the way the offense is coming around. So,
I just like to answer the original question. I do think the AFC winner does go on to win the Super Bowl. There's something about the AFC teams right now versus NFC. They just they put the hit stick down. It's just next level on the AFC side versus the NFC.
If the Chiefs don't make it, though, I'll be rooting for the NFC team, whoever it is in the Super Bowl. So,
it's probably same. Yeah.
Right. So, really appreciate everybody for popping in and joining us and watching tonight. We're going to get the prize stuff out here soon. We're looking forward to the game on Sunday. Don't forget, click like. That really helps us out a lot. Click subscribe. Help spread the word. Share the link. Text it around if you got some friends or family members that haven't seen the show yet. The more the merrier. You all make the show you all are more of the fun of the show than any of the 3 of us. Who are we kidding? The more viewers and the more people we get watching and jumping in here regularly, the better this show has gotten. So
They got better
Definitely
questions for you
are.
guys than I do. That's for sure.
Right. Yeah. You all are definitely part of the show and stars of the show. So we appreciate it. We'll be back next week, hopefully celebrating another AFC championship for the Chiefs and talking about a Super Bowl matchup with either the Lions or the 49ers.
Oh, let's
Until
go.
then, let's go.
Hey, real
Chiefs.
quick. Did you guys see that little kid hyping up Pacheco after the game?
Oh, it's so
Pacheco goes
good,
over
dude.
and hands this kid his gloves, and he just goes, "Let's go, boy! Let's go, boy!
Oh,
Let's
yeah,
go!" And he
yeah.
pops us over. He's like, "Yeah, let's go!" That's how I feel right now, Scott. Let's go.
I'm ready.
boy.
I'm ready to go. I've been watching that locker room video after the Bills game on loop for like 3 days now. So
That's my alarm clock now. I wake up to that shit.
I'm pumped, man. I'm ready to go. Chiefs going to take care of business on Sunday. It's going to be all good, and Chiefs Kingdom's going to be happy. So we'll see everybody next Wednesday. Let's go Chiefs.
Cheers.
Go
Let's go
Chiefs.
Chiefs.